Hey everyone, welcome to a special edition of the Journey Now podcast. I am here with Dre Sanders and Brodrick Thomas. They are both from the Refuge Center, who is one of our ministry partners. And we like to bring you these podcasts throughout our year and to kind of keep on our website available for people who are curious about our ministry partners and why we partner with them. And I will say the Refuge Center is probably our longest standing partner here at Journey because like way back in the day, Amy Alexander was actually part of the Journey community when
I didn't know that.
when she and Jen decided to go and start the Refuge Center. But she has always, and the entire organization has always been such a huge support to us by providing low-cost alternatives for counseling and therapy for people in our community. And you guys have done such a great job of equipping our leaders and doing different special one-offs of helping us do our part in shepherding our community while we can leave to the professionals the things that need to be left to the professionals. So welcome to the Journey Now podcast.
Thank you.
I would love to hear initially from both of you what your roles are and how you came to Refuge Center.
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe, Brodrick, you can just kind of give us the overview elevator pitch of what the Refuge Center is for those who don't know.
Would be honored to. So all of that just kind of coordinates together, my pitch and who we are and all these things. So my name is Brodrick Thomas. I am the director of annual giving at the Refuge Center. And I found Refuge in 2021 when a student at the school that I worked at took her own life. And I was so heartbroken by it, not only by her death, but also by how far mental illness reached into schools. We're talking about primary schools. We're talking about second and third graders who struggle with mental health issues. So,
and this was a private Christian school you were part of too, right?
So I'd hesitate to say the name because I don't want to give too much information. Yeah, no, that's okay.
But I think that's important because I think a lot of people think when they enroll their kids in private Christian schools that they're shielded from a lot of things that may not be the case.
And that's very true. And I would say, in an expert opinion of someone who spent time in independent schools and private schools, I would say that the commitment of the parents to whatever profession they may have that allow them to create the opportunity for their child to go to a private school increases that because that parent may have to be absent, for whatever reasons that there might be. And so that creates a little bit of a drift for kids. And so it was heartbreaking to witness a lot of that. Yeah. And I started working with the good people at Refuge, Amy, to work through whatever I had experienced through that, but also in learning everything that I possibly could about how to help those kids I care so much about.
Did Refuge send a team of people to support the students and families?
They were a part of it. Yeah. So private schools and independent schools usually have multiple counseling resources on hand, and Refuge was one of those that were instrumental to helping our community find a way to journey forward past that situation and terrible tragedy. Yeah. And so fell so in love with Refuge that I joined the board and served on the board for 2 years. And then I took a break, short plug for Trevecca Nazarene University, where I'm the alumni president. Go Trojans. Whenever I took on that role as alumni president, that meant that I had to be on the board of trustees for the university, and that took a tremendous amount of time. And I wasn't able to commit to being a part of the Refuge board as much as I wanted to. But we have something that we say in the Refuge community. We're not looking for bigger and more. We're looking for truer and deeper. And the thing that just impacted me so was that I couldn't leave Refuge alone. You go to the place for whatever your needs are, the big pretty building, but you stay for the stories and the people. And so I find myself back here 5 months later doing incredible work and what that work looks like is that we provide therapy on a sliding scale fee. And what does that look like? The average cost in Middle Tennessee for a counseling session is $175 to $225. Our average cost that we charge our clients is $70 and can stretch all the way to $0. And so a big piece of that is that I fundraise along with an incredible group of people to make sure that we are able to cover that cost so that incredible therapists like Dre can be paid for the work that they do while also creating something affordable for those who need hope and healing.
Yeah.
And
and so with that quick plug, we give a monthly amount to Refuge Center. But if people want to give above and beyond that, they can either do that through Journey Church and memo it for Refuge Center, or they can go to you guys directly. And that's tax deductible.
Yes. And so that and that big gap, that gap that Journey helps cover, I just need you to know, y'all cover 10 free sessions a month.
Oh, wow.
A month.
Yeah.
For people who had no other option.
That's cool, because it doesn't feel like a lot, to be honest. Like the dollar amount. I'm like, wish we could get more.
No, it doesn't feel that way. But the impact that this community makes per month, we're talking about 120 sessions in a year.
Yeah.
And usually what that looks like, because people are like, you're in Franklin, you're not in Nashville, you probably don't see. But what that really looks like is that there are families that have experienced unspeakable tragedies. Imagine the student that I think so much about constantly and her family. She has siblings. And so whenever families are showing up at counseling places, they're basically saying, well, this one needs it more and we can go later. But at Refuge, when you have a sliding scale fee, everybody can go and get what they need at the same time. We have many clients who are married, and each individual will have their own counseling session, and then they'll have a counseling session together. They wouldn't have been able to afford that if it wasn't for incredible people like Journey Church.
Well, and also you guys have really great group options. I know, like, you've had some amazing grief groups. I have a good friend who lost her son a couple years ago and was part of a grieving parents group. And I know that was such a huge lifeline for her. But you've had men's groups and women's groups and anxiety, depression support groups, and then the art therapy that's drop-in and music therapy and
somatic movement therapy.
I mean,
yoga class.
Dre, do you remember how many modalities we have? I have a number in my mind.
I don't know the number right off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think.
And
it's
by
21.
modalities, explain what a modality is.
Well, the modalities will speak to the types of therapy that we're using to address a variety of issues, whether we're talking about using cognitive behavioral therapy, acceptance and commitment therapy. He talked about the semantic classes that are available now at Refuge. So many different kind, motivational interviewing. We have a lot of different modalities that we use at Refuge. And I think that's part of what excites me in regard to working with other clinicians, other therapists, counselors, who have very different backgrounds, very different trainings. And it's a big variety at the Refuge Center. So that part is really exciting. Say more about that
and your story and how you ended up there.
So Tina, Elizabeth, they were two of the first people that I met at the Refuge Center when I applied there and was interviewing for a contract position. At that time, my health would not allow me to work full time. And it was something that bothered me a lot. I didn't think that I would be able to find employment in this field and just work part-time. So I was able to thankfully be hired by the Refuge Center, and the community there is what brought me in, but what also has me still here. Just beautiful people in regards to caring about you as a person.
That's awesome.
You know, so yes, as a professional, we want you to come in. We need you to work with X amount of clients, take these trainings. but we care about you. We care about how you're doing. We care about your health. And so for me personally, that was a big deal for me, and something that made me fall in love with the culture. If nothing else, the culture of Refuge is strong, and they take care of their people. So for me, that's what led me to the Refuge Center, and the culture is why I'm still there, in regard to just, again, caring about the people that work there, but also caring about the people that walk into our offices every day.
That's amazing. Amazing. So I want to go back to what you said about the different modalities.
Okay.
Like you mentioned cognitive behavior therapy, and I know that there's also like EMDR and different. I mean,
neurofeedback.
Neurofeedback and talk therapy, which I think is different than CBT. So how do you, does somebody come in knowing what they want, or do you kind of go, how do you determine what somebody needs?
That's a great question. I think that it varies. Some people, when they decide that they want to start that journey, they do know. Some people do know exactly what they're looking for and what they need. But then there are a lot of people that will walk into the office and just know that they're missing something. They're missing something. They're in need of guidance in certain areas in their lives. And so when they come to the Refuge Center, our intake team does a really good job of setting up appointments for clients who, either through telephone or through our website, therefugecenter.org, they request that initial intake. They will come in for that initial intake, and that intake session usually 30 minutes to about 50 minutes, and they're asking a lot of questions. Our intake team does a good job of asking specific questions so that it helps not only the client, but them and the other therapists figure out, okay, what does this client need? What can we provide? And how soon can we provide that? One thing that we are very, very, very cognizant of is the wait list.
Right.
We do have a wait list at the Refuge Center, and we try our best to keep that number low. We try to get clients in, Well,
when I refer people, I often will tell people, you're going to have to do an intake. It might take a couple weeks to get that call, but it's not just you guys. It's everyone is overloaded. I mean, I think since COVID, probably before COVID, but since COVID especially, I think the number of people needing care has increased dramatically. Yes. And what I hear across the board from many different offices is that they're having no problem finding clients to work with. In fact, it's just a lot. And so listeners, I think it's important, whether you use the Refuge Center or anywhere else, you have to advocate for yourself and keep calling and staying, checking back in, and if it's not working, then finding something that works. But you're describing something that's not just to the Refuge Center. It's really
And I'll also talk a little bit about why it is unique to the Refuge Center that we have a long wait list. Number one, when you look at the average of a counseling session, how many someone has, the average in Middle Tennessee is between I believe 6 and 8. The Refuge 25. Okay, 25 sessions, and the reason why we retain our clients so well is because of that thoughtful intake process where we sit down and we navigate the reasons behind why you want to be here. And then we have to pair you with the perfect professional. We have 74, 76 therapists, and all of them have different specialties. And so our intake specialists, whenever they're listening to your story, they're trying to associate in their minds what is the best modality and person for you. And also people have particular thoughts about what they want in a therapist. Some people who've had a rough time with dads or fathers are like, I don't want a man. Or someone who maybe have a troubled relationship with women would be like, I don't want a particular woman. Or it may be a person who's like, I want someone who kind of looks like me that could understand I had a student that I worked with at Trevecca who I found at the Refuge one day, because I can never know who's there because we're protecting confidentiality, all the HIPAA in lawsuits. And so she was just there one day, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, it's so good to see you. I can't ask you any questions, but it's good to see you. And she was like, oh, I'll tell you everything. And we have a therapist there called Valeria, who, Valeria is Brazilian, right?
I believe so. Yeah,
so mad at me. If she's not Brazilian, shout
out to Valeria, wherever you are. You're amazing.
But she understood the Hispanic culture, and as a Hispanic woman, connected well with this particular student who was like, I needed that in my life.
It's a different experience.
Yes. And so that is generally the reasoning behind why the wait list is so big. I'd like to say currently, shout out to our intake team, 46 people on the wait list.
46.
Which is low.
Which our average is 180 to 200. So like 46, they've really cut through that list, and so proud of them. And we also have set up this group, you mentioned groups, on the side for someone who feels like they need to talk to someone now, called the wait list. And so we welcome them in, and they'll have access to our group therapists, and they sit in a group and kind of like work through some type of thought process to prepare them for what they're about to go into.
That's really cool, though, because I bet that's really helpful.
That's brand new too, Suzie.
So can you?
And let me say before you ask this question, Suzie asked me a hard question when I visited Journey. She's like, "This wait list, man, it's long," and we went back and started kicking it around, and then I believe it was Tate. Tate would be proud of you for dropping the website like you did a while ago. But I think it was Tate in combination with Leela Marks.
Yes.
Came up with this thought process about the wait list.
That's really cool.
That's you, Suzie.
Well,
Thank you.
I don't know if I can take credit for that. But so you mentioned that the average amount of sessions is 25. Can you talk to people who think that, or going to therapy is one of the obstacles for people to go to therapy is that they're afraid that they're going to have a therapist that's going to hook them in for a really long time, and they're going to have to spend all this time and energy. I know that's not what you're saying.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Can you talk about the benefit of that? Like a little bit more about what the benefits are. You mentioned like they really get underneath what it is that's brought them in there. But why are we... I'm excited about 25 sessions. So I need you to explain, Brodrick, in the correct way, like why that's a good thing and not something to be concerned about.
So I'll give you two particular examples through two programs that we have. So one of our best programs I think we have is called PCIT, which is Parent-Child Interaction Therapy. And basically,
I have a friend who did that. It's awesome.
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
And so this was a therapy that was created for foster families from the standpoint of the help of parent who's receiving a brand new child, and if you have multiple children, you know you cannot parent a child the same.
Right.
So it's to basically help parents with parenting strategies, to help to work with a child that they're unfamiliar with, or a child that may have disabilities, or anything that may be going on. And so what basically happens is that the therapist will stand behind a wall and that has a glass, but it's mirrored, so no one on the other side can see them, and they will have a headset on, whispering into a bug into the parent's ear to help them with commands to help build the relationship between the parent and child. Well, the reason I bring that up as far as sessions is that starts indoors,
right?
But I need my child to listen to me when we're at the zoo. I need my child to listen to me when we're at the mall. So there's a slower process of working up to where you'll see them walking the campus of Refuge with the therapist far behind, like still talking to the parent and trying to create distractions. So you make sure everything's going well. So that takes time. Yeah. That's one. Two is that we have patients that seek multiple modalities too. Like it may start with talk therapy, and Dre realized maybe neurofeedback is best for you, and then that person goes in neurofeedback. Or they may be like, it's just a relationship, because as Dre kind of mentioned, when someone comes into that therapeutic space with this person that they don't know quite yet, they may not know what they need, but over time that conversation will unfold and reveal what is needed.
Yeah.
So I don't understand how people do 6 or 7, to be honest with you, because
I've never had 6 or 7 only.
Because being honest with you, like it's a process. It's a process of me willing to open up to you.
Yeah.
About what's really going on with me.
Well, I know that we could go in and describe all the different modalities, but I have a particular fondness for neurofeedback therapy because I have a loved one who has done all the things, the talk therapy, the psychiatrist evaluation and assistance with medication, but neurofeedback therapy is something that was a game changer for him. So can you talk a little bit about what neurofeedback therapy is? Because I think it's still fairly new, right? And not a lot of people might know about it.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about it?
So yes, and shout out to the neurofeedback therapists at Refuge, Valeria, Kimberly,
so awesome. Valeria.
Kathleen, who's killing it in our fantasy league right now. So neurofeedback, one loss.
It's crazy.
Neurofeedback.
I don't know how she has one loss.
She's dominating y'all. She's dominating all of our fantasy football people out there. We have someone at Refuge that's dominating. So let's put that out there, Kathleen.
Me and Dre are in that league, and we're sad about it.
Yes, I'm not doing the greatest. But with neurofeedback, it's very important, I think, for folks who may not be at a stage of their life where they are ready to have regular talk therapy, psychotherapy, as we say. The mental issues, the challenges that they're dealing with, they are able to address that through neurofeedback.
Like what particular challenges?
Oh my goodness, it could be a lot of trauma. Trauma is one of the bigger neurofeedback but trauma in particular is really big with neurofeedback because there are processes in regards to how our brain processes information. And when someone goes to speak with a therapist, when they're not able to even discuss some of the things that led to some of their trauma, neurofeedback is one of those modalities that I would recommend. And that happens a lot more often than you may think, especially with child and teen, our adolescents. I've worked with several adolescents and you work with them, you have a few sessions, and through the rapport building process, there's certain information that us as clinicians we're trying to get. And sometimes we get that information kind of early and it feels great, yay. And then there are other times where we realize there's some mental blocks there that this child may need to work through, and they may not be ready to talk through it. So whether it's neurofeedback, whether it's EMDR, that's using lights and sounds to address trauma.
Neurofeedback is movies and sound, right? Music and movies.
And so a child could go in there, and this is the cool thing about neurofeedback. I'm not a neurofeedback specialist myself, but because I work with a lot of child and teen, I get joy from just seeing the kids in and out of the offices and in the hallways. Well, when I see a kid get ready for neurofeedback, I'm thinking, man, I wish that was me. And I say that because at that age, who wouldn't want to be able to go into an office, watch a movie, have someone there that if you feel like speaking and talking to, you can. But if not, the focus is on what they're watching, what they're listening to. So that part is really cool about neurofeedback. And it's something that I believe is becoming more popular with our adolescents and extended adolescents as well. It's something that I would recommend anyone who is curious to visit the website. You can scroll on that main page to neurofeedback, click on neurofeedback, and you get a little bit more information about the specifics of that program and modality.
That's great.
We can partner and try to explain what it does. Because I know I'm definitely not a neurofeedback specialist. And you just mentioned that you weren't. But I think what happens is that someone will sit down in a very comfortable chair and they will put these oh gosh,
It's like a cap.
It's a cap that can read your brain scans and waves. And so the specialist will sit here, the therapist will sit beside you, and you'll watch your favorite program. And so certain particular things will happen with the TV as you're watching to generate that brain activity that the specialist needs to see. And basically what they're trying to do is retrain your brain, because when something traumatic happens to you, it really disrupts how your neurons fire to speak to one another about how I should react or how I should live in this particular situation and moment. And so the specialist is just watching the brain activity and how each hemisphere communicates with one another, and then they can actually correct or redirect your neurons. Rewire.
And I think that's the evidence that I saw in my loved one, is their ability to deal with hard things in ways that they weren't able to before. And so whether that's it addressed a little bit of the OCD or the attention issues or whatever it is, I don't really know how that all works, but that was one thing that I definitely saw, was like we had a few hard things happen, and he was really able to like face it and walk through it in a healthy way. So
yeah, and as Dre mentioned, it's really helpful for kids and also adults, kids with learning differences who may not be able to formulate, exactly how they're feeling or, with great accuracy describe what's happening. It's easy to sit them down in front of a TV and they can watch, and then the therapist can read everything that's going on and see. And it's one particular story that touches me deeply of a veteran named Harold who saw unspeakable things serving our country. And whenever he came back, he attempted on his life multiple times. And I can say this because he's on our site and talking about this. He attempted to take his own life multiple times and had another one set up. And someone suggested to him that he should try neurofeedback at Refuge. And he was like, I mean, it's not going to work, but I'll go in and try it. And it went in, and it just changed him completely. And awesome. Not only does I think he still does neurofeedback, but and he says it on the website as well, that his son is now doing it. And so that story touches me deeply because I'm not sure we'd have Harold here with us.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for that. And
awesome.
So, and that speaks to, why we all work at Refuge.
Yeah.
We care about humans.
Yeah.
We love humans, and we want to see them thrive and do wonderful things in this world, and see what God can do through them. And if they're not here, then it's hard to work through them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we hear a lot about the anxious generation. There's now a book with that title that people talk a lot about, and my kids are all Gen Z and Gen Alpha, and that's a huge theme. And then we also
getting a lot of numbers between 5 and 8 being said in your house.
Yes. It took me a second, but I was like,
I try my hardest to avoid saying it.
Yeah, actually, I think mine are a little bit above that. Like, they think it's stupid too.
Thank you.
They're like,
Thank you.
They know about it, but they're not like, it's not all what they're all about. But anyway, that's really funny.
Sorry.
Gen
Alpha. Go ahead.
But and like you said with your experience in the school, like it seems like it's happening like shockingly younger and younger.
Yeah.
And but then we also hear, I think like when Amy was here a couple years ago speaking on a Sunday, she said that in Williamson County, she was talking about the suicide rate, and the majority of people who took their own lives and died by suicide were middle-aged white men.
Yes.
Which was shocking to a lot of people. So I'd love to hear from you guys what you're seeing a lot of. And then also like, what with the increase, I think is because we know more. And so with the increase, there's also more help available, and the stigma is fading, faster in some ways than others.
I'll give you some harrowing stats. So the Tennessee Department of Health just released a report saying that gun deaths in Tennessee are higher than they've ever been. Mm-hmm. But the saddest thing about that is that it's not someone taking another person's life. 55% of the gun deaths in Tennessee are by suicide.
How much percentage did you say?
55% of them. So over half. And so what we found is that those gun deaths are more so middle-aged white men. Mm-hmm. And what it really is that they get into a difficult situation and they're lonely. Mm-hmm. They don't feel like they can share with anyone else. And I hate to this is a very personal thing outside of Refuge, but I call it toxic masculinity, mm-hmm. where you don't feel like you can be vulnerable with other men or even your families because you're like, I got to be the hard person.
And everyone thinks you have it all together, so they're not going to ask the deep questions.
So instead of, mm-hmm. divulging or being honest with people about what is happening in your life, usually a decision is made that people are better off if I'm not here. Mm-hmm. And so that really breaks my heart. Number one, the loneliness mm-hmm. piece. Cause we had a campaign around fighting loneliness, mm-hmm. Last year. And so to be so lonely that you feel like no one would care mm-hmm. or that you be better off, or people would be better off without you here. But suicide attempts in the state of Tennessee are above average nationwide as well, and we see that more so among the teens. Mm-hmm. There's an attempt to take their own life, and I don't think they know, sadly, what to do. And which is also an opportunity because that can bring recognition if they're still with us. Mm-hmm. But the loneliness among teens, and this is not a professional opinion, this is what I've analyzed from independent schools and private schools, mm-hmm. is that with social media, mm-hmm. kids feel like their mistakes are irreconcilable. And what I mean by that is that if it gets posted online, everyone knows and it's there forever. Mm-hmm. And so they can never overcome it. I cannot tell you, Suzie, how many stupid things I've done as a teenager myself. But there was a general belief that I could grow past it. Mm-hmm. I don't think this generation thinks that. Mm-hmm. I think they honestly believe that when I make a mistake and it gets published online, everyone knows and I'll never overcome it. And so the heartbreaking thing for me is I just, and that's part of my passion for working with Refuge, is that Refuge does a lot of educational pieces mm-hmm. where they go out into schools mm-hmm. to help them know people will forget about this. Yeah. It's not over.
Which is the antithesis of the parenting tactic that I employed of like, don't do anything stupid online because it stays there forever. Yeah.
And kids are embodying that.
Yeah, like, that's very convincing.
But it is true mm-hmm. that those things, will follow you, but that doesn't define who you are as a person. Right. Like, I mean, you're telling the truth, because I know of a student who said something they really shouldn't have said, and it mm-hmm. followed them to a sorority that they mm-hmm. wanted to get in. Mm-hmm. But the thing that we helped them understand was that, hey, you still went to school. You still got into school. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't a part of a fraternity when I went to Auburn, War Eagle, by the way. I wasn't in a fraternity when I went to Auburn, and I have a thriving community of friends. It wasn't the end of my life. Mm-hmm. I think there's a balance between understanding that, things that you do these days are more consequential, mm-hmm. but also at the same time understanding that it's not over. Yeah. It's not the end of your life, so.
That's huge. And I'd like to add on to that. You were asking about, some of the things that we're hearing and that we're mm-hmm. seeing in the field in regard to that. And one thing that I come across with a lot of my clients, there's a lack of healthy conversation being had in homes. Mm-hmm. I feel like with social media, we do have access to more information and we can get certain information quicker. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't always mean that it's the right information. And I also think that it's important that when we get some information online, to run it by our loved ones, run it by the people that are professionals in the particular field. So there's a lack of healthy conversations going on in the home. And there's a lot of fear that I see. There's a whole lot of fear from our adolescents, but also our parents too.
Parenting out of fear.
Parenting out of fear. And you know, shout out to all the parents. I think that parenting is one of the toughest jobs you can possibly have.
Yeah.
And I say it like that because that is a job. It is a full-time job. There's no off. And so I think whether it's parenting out of fear, whether it's being fearful to have certain conversations with your loved ones, addressing fear is something that I love to do within this field. And having people come in and letting them know, like, hey, when you're with Dre, you're in a safe space. You're safe, and nobody's gonna mess with you in here. And let's get to talk about what you're really feeling. What are those things that we're a little bit afraid to express to others? You know, things of that nature. And it's something that I think if we have more of that conversation outside of therapy, things will start to get a little bit better, and we'll have a better level of communication amongst, you know, parents and their kids, as well as school, churches, and just bringing the community together.
That's good.
It's a team sport. It's a team sport.
It's funny. My one of my kids was we had helped him get into therapy reluctantly. I'll say that. He didn't want to go. And his brothers, who had really great experiences in therapy through the Refuge Center, also one of them, but they sat him down and they're like, listen, this is the greatest thing ever, because you can go in there and say whatever you want. You can say whatever you want about mom and dad, and they have a legal obligation not to tell anybody.
It's true. That's one of my favorite pitches to the kids. You can tell me everything about your folks. I'm not going to say a word.
Returning, and exactly. They use that word too. But it's like, it was so funny. I was like, well, there's that. Exactly.
At least they have the outlet, right?
I know. So some people might think it's unusual or strange that a church would partner with a mental health organization, and like, we don't think it's weird, and that's part of your job.
Thank God for
that, you know. And we have another podcast that we do here twice a month called Journey on My Mind, and it's the intersection of spirituality and mental health.
Amen. And
how those two are not separated. So can you talk a little bit about the partnership with churches and the faith communities, and why that's important?
I'm so glad you asked that question. So number one thing I need to establish is that a lot of people think that Refuge is a Christian counseling. We're not, because we have trained, licensed professionals like Dre. And one of the things is that you cannot discriminate in that particular way with that licensure. So we are not a faith-based organization, but what we like to say is that we're Christ-centered. And what that means is that we deeply operate as an organization that treat each other in the way in which Christ called us to love each other. From the standpoint of that, Amy is big on the 3 C's, which is character, continual education, and connection. And what she means by that is that Jesus' greatest command, whenever he is standing out there minding his business and the Pharisees come up and they're like, oh, I bet you we'll get him with this one. You know, what's the greatest law out of all the 613 Torah laws? And Jesus, you know, I feel like he does a little thing where he goes, yeah, I got those. How about this? Love God with all your heart, mind, body, and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. This is what all of the law and prophets are hung on. And the thought process behind that is that we are the image of God, and continuous improvement in our lives, continuing education is a way in which we glorify and worship God. And so that's a big thing for the people of Refuge. And number 2, connection, like, and the character piece. You know, how we connect with one another at Refuge is so beautiful, and the opportunities given. I promise I'm going to answer your question now.
No, that's great.
but I needed to make sure I cleared it out and how we operate. So, but if someone comes in a therapeutic session and they ask the therapist, like, I want to use my spirituality to go through that, they will let you lead that.
Yeah. Or I don't want to.
Yeah. Or if you don't want to, like, that's the thing, is that we will let you lead that process and participate with you, whether it's a way or two, faith. And so why does it make sense to work with Journey? I am a big believer in, I do believe Paul said this, that our battle is not with flesh and blood. And so my thought process that I see a lot of churches go through, I'm a lay minister in the Church of the Nazarene, don't judge me. But our thought process is, especially in the Church of the Nazarene, it's like, oh, okay, it's all spiritual. Anything that's affecting you is spiritual. It's spiritual. It's spiritual. Like, let's pray it away. Let's get it out of there.
Jesus died for that. So you don't have to worry about
exactly. And so what I think we see it as a priority at the Refuge is that we'll handle the flesh and blood part if you allow us to partner with you, and you guys can do the spiritual journey with your congregants. That's why it's so important. And I tell you, it's so many people, like, we think about who need these communities and sit in the back pew looking for hope and help. And if we can be a part of that journey for them to help them find what they need so they can be what God has called them to be, so that they can love God with all their heart, mind, body, and soul, and then relate to their neighbors well. If we can be a part of that, we want to be a part of that journey. And I say that because I've seen it over and over again that people need a third place. I think that's why, men, middle-aged men are so lonely, is because they go to work and they go to home. They go to work and they go to home. They don't have that third place. And church can be that third place. And so how do we work with our pastors?
Well, I feel like sometimes, when caring for people, there are things I'm just not equipped to help with. And like the flesh and blood piece is actually, for me, an obstacle in getting to the powers and principalities piece with them, and it's so helpful when you know that someone is seeing a licensed professional therapist who knows how the brain works and knows how to get to the deeper places that can address trauma, abuse, addiction, whatever, then like for the spiritual partnership, it makes it so much more whole, I guess, and that like I'll give an example without saying a name. I was talking with someone recently who's been through a lot of trauma, and out of this trauma has come a fear that they're contending with when it comes to how they work and in their profession. And she asked me, she's like, well, this is what I'm afraid of. And she said it. And she's like, is that a healthy fear? And I was like, probably not, but there's something underneath that's like making this fear so big that I think you should probably talk with your therapist about that also, because something happened to you or you saw something that you're afraid of seeing in yourself. And so like, where does that come from? Like that's an untangling that your therapist might need to be a part of, but also amen that you confessed your fear. Like you said it out loud to me. And so I can bear witness to that and pray against that fear, and also like hold you accountable to that as well. And so there's just such a like, for me as a pastor, it lightens my load tremendously, and it helps me not take on a burden that doesn't belong to me or that I'm not equipped to. So I just think it's so great. Yeah,
I agree. And I think we partner well together. And we can do this with any organization or church. Yeah. And you're speaking to what Dre talked about with fear. Like he sees it in office constantly. Is this fear? I think one of the biggest phrases that was used throughout the Bible was "do not fear." And I think that's purposeful because fear leads us all to a lot of dark places.
Yeah. Yeah. And following the "do not fear" is I will be with you.
Amen.
Like you're going to be afraid and I will be with you. And sometimes I'm with you in the form of another human being.
Yes.
And I think that's the beauty of what you all offer at the Refuge Center and why we're so grateful for you. So.
And we're grateful for you, Suzie. Number one, letting us sit down and talk about this. Number two, the generous impact. I can't even get the words out, because when I think about the people who are affected by what you give monthly, this stacks up to over a year, like the lives being changed by people who may not even walk through this door.
Well, that's our community. That's a shout out to the generosity of our community.
Thank you, Journey Church.
Definitely. Big thank you.
Yeah. And the openness and conviction that a lot of us, not just those of us in leadership, but all of us have of the value of good mental health care.
Yes.
So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
Was there anything left that you guys didn't say?
I don't think so. Dre?
Yeah, thank you. We just want to let people know that you don't have to walk this journey alone. That's something that we pride ourselves on at the Refuge Center. It's one of our mantras. We have it on the back of our hoodies and T-shirts. And we want the community to know that there is someone in our building that is ready and willing to work with you. So bring what you got. Bring what you got. You don't have to walk this journey alone.
That's good. And for those of you in the Journey community that are listening, when you, like Sam Barnhart is our care pastor, and he is amazing. And if he were here, he would describe his job as a triage point. So when someone's in crisis or has a need, they come to him and he meets with them a few times. And then when he sees that they need something a little bit more beyond him, then he connects them with a therapist, or I will too. And so we always refer people to Refuge Center because of the sliding scale and because you have 75 people there.
Yes.
But also, I don't know if this is a Tennessee thing or not, but in California, I thought it was a good law that when you refer somebody, you have to give them at least 3 referrals and let them choose. And so we do also have other partners that we, or not partners, but people that we know and trust and respect in our community that we will also recommend. But Refuge is like always the first stop because there's so many options.
And just finally, I'd like to mention our end of year giving campaign. Our leader, Amy Alexander, is fantastic at coming up with themes for us for a year. And she sat down and she thought about this thoroughly and partnered with us in the organization. And we've decided to focus on what burdens is in your backpack. And we're encouraging people to travel light. And so what that looks like is that we'll just be sending encouragements out to our community to help them know how to travel light through our social media posts. So follow us there. And if you love the work that we're doing and how we're impacting others, and you want to help, change other people's lives, kind of like what Journey Church does every month, I hope you'll give to our campaign and to Refuge whenever you might see this, because I cannot tell you what $50 a month can do for a family. It can change lives, it can save lives, it can extend lives. And so I hope you'll consider that in helping other people travel light and empty out their bag of burdens.
Thanks, Brodrick.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Dre. Thanks to both of you for being here with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Suzie.
Thanks for having us.
See you next time.